There we go.
Hey.
Well, welcome. We are here live. I'm Coach Les, and I am with Mr. John Yarwood of Yarwood's Martial Arts. And we are here today with Matt Chat, talking about what is the benefit of martial arts in life. And we're going to start off with a discussion. I'm going to pass the mic over to Mr. Yarwood. And today's going to be a discussion that I believe will make a massive difference in your life. So listen up. Mr. Yarwood, over to you.
So earlier today, we had a conversation. It had to do with, community service to others, how we give, and the reasons why we give. And I think it's an important thing to talk about because what we do at our school is it's the core of everything that we do. We give. Sure, there's always going to be, when we're running a business, there's always going to be money involved, money exchange involved for services. But that's kind of like the bare minimum of things. We really push what community service is and being able to give to others. And what we tell the parents is that we're teaching the kids to give to others without the expectation of anything in return. And what we found is that kids are starting to not just do it because they're supposed to, because it's one of their stripes that they have to earn, but we have a lot of students who are actually like seeking out ways that they can give, whether it's to their neighbors or to, they go to Feed My Starving Children, or they go to an elderly folks home to help, they sit and play cards with them or read to them or whatever. It's become like part of what they do. And we found that it really, when kids understand the giving aspect of what they do in their life, it becomes a bigger part of them, and they want to do more of it, and it helps them with everything else that they do because they start to see things a little bit differently. I think their eyes are open to the fact that there's a lot more out there. There's a lot of things that they have that maybe other people don't, that they can be grateful for, and it teaches them that humility, that being grateful for what you have is a huge part of your life. Because if you stop being grateful for the things that you have in life, you become selfish, you become wanting more, things become material versus the feeling that you have more to give other people. So it kind of changes their mentality and how they look at things. We have, several students who've done projects that are, like, one in particular is a push-up challenge that we just completed that one of our black belt students created to not only do push-ups and become healthier, but to raise money for the foundation that we have that provides scholarships for students in our community that are maybe a little less financially well off and aren't able to afford our school. So we have scholarships in place where, if they go through the process of doing the application and they make it so that they can get the scholarships, and then it pays for a whole year of training for them. And it's like a burden off of their back that they don't have to cover the cost of the training that they want their kids to have. So being able to provide those types of services is something that's become pretty central to what we do.
Yeah, and I think one of the key things that people are left with in the experience of raising money for that is they see the value of the dollar and what it takes to raise it, right? Because it takes work. Sometimes you can't just say, well, I want to raise $1,000 and $1,000 shows up.
Right.
You actually have to go and earn it. And I think in the earning of it and the work that's required to set up, go in one extreme, go knock on a door. In a second extreme, go talk to somebody you've never met. In that space, there's something that is acquired and by the student to realize the value of $1.
Yep.
Value of $5, the value of $10. And then to be able to say, wow, I raised $350 and that paid for a whole month of a family's training. To then see, wow, I can have a huge impact from my little work. I think it incentivizes to the point of creating a realistic goal, a realistic possibility for a level that says, hey, we reached this and I made a difference, and one whole family I can look at and go, they're here because of the money I raised.
Yep.
And not that we want people jumping from, ooh, I'm not this, but now I'm this. And look at me, how great I am because I gave somebody this much money and did X with it. It's not about that either. So there's a really fine line, and I'm just so grateful that we can have this discussion today to look at some of the pitfalls of contributing.
Yeah, I mean, it's when we put it in perspective of what the work and the money that they raise actually does, where it goes, I think that's where it really kind of makes the impact for the student who's doing the donating, doing the raising of the funds. Because if they just know that it's a dollar amount and they say, yeah, I raised $350, right? But they don't really, where they're excited about it, they're excited that they can do it, but then they don't really see where it goes or know what it's for. When you put it to them in that perspective that, hey, that money that you raised literally paid for a month of training for a family that they otherwise wouldn't have had. And when they hear that, you can just kind of see that pride of, oh, wow, that's really cool that I could help somebody like that. And I think that triggers in them something that they want to do more. Like, oh, all I have to do is raise. Now it's all I have to do is raise $350 and I can pay for a family for another month. That incentivizes them to want to do that because they get to see the impact directly that they make because they know the family that's there training that they help to be able to be in the school. And it's really, I think that opens their eyes to what else can I do? Not just within our school, but where else can I help? What else can I do to help people? Can I help people at my school? Maybe kids who are struggling a little bit, like maybe physically that need a little help between classes, or maybe a kid struggling in math and needs a tutor. And I know I'm really good at the thing that they're struggling with, right? So they take a little bit of time to go help them out. Or it's at home where you have an elderly neighbor or a neighbor who's in a wheelchair or they broke a leg and they need help taking out the trash, right? Those things that they can see that impact directly, they start to look for those things now and find a way that they can help that. And it's not about them anymore. It's about what they can do for somebody else and the feeling that they get from it. Cause you can't create that feeling without, just out of the blue. It's something that you have to experience and for yourself. And when you see, the look on somebody's face that knows that they get to come and train with us for a month because, they normally wouldn't be able to because they don't have the money, that's priceless. So it's awesome to be able to provide the way for them to do those things and to help them grow in that community service piece of their life.
Well, you mentioned earlier this morning, and I'd love for you to recreate that story, the one where they've been waiting to meet you for weeks.
Oh, yeah. So our foundation while mostly focused on our students in our school, we have other schools that we've sent scholarships to provide for families that are at those schools. And we have one school, they had just recently had an anniversary party, and so I went down there to kind of celebrate with them. And while I was there, um, I was introduced to a mom and daughter who are benefactors of the scholarship that we provided for the school. And I only knew the names because I do the funding of the scholarship, so I knew their names. But the mother and daughter were introduced to me by the school owner, and they said that they were really excited that they were able to get this money and that they've been waiting to meet me because they wanted to say thank you to me in person for being able to provide the scholarship. And I I kind of had a two different feelings on the situation. First, I was happy to be able to be I can't say I was the provider of the funds because I didn't do it. Our foundation did. So I was kind of like, well, I didn't really give you the money. Our foundation did. So I was like, that part. But at the same time, it felt really good to be able to see and like we go back to that, see the impact that we made on this family that otherwise wouldn't have been able to train there, and the gratefulness that they had for being able to do that. That it just made me realize that much more that I want to keep doing this. And that's, the main reason I started the foundation in the first place. But to, like I said, to see that impact directly and experience it directly just motivates me that much more to want to keep doing it. Because it feels good, right? That knowledge that, I can, just by my little piece, by raising some money for some people, that I can impact their lives so much.
And I think part of that impact is unknown, right? Like there's this place where that impact has a residual effect, like the ripples in a pond.
Right.
And we don't know what it's going to affect.
Yeah, when you're doing it, you're just thinking, right, we're gonna be able to provide a family with tuition, right? To us, it's like, okay, that's what the money's for. To them, that's literally a whole year's worth of martial arts training for their family, right? That is so important to them that they want their children to be there, want their children to be getting that training. And then who knows who they talk to about what we're doing, right? Not only what their kids are learning at Taekwondo, but what they talk about in terms of being able to be provided with a scholarship to be able to do it. The gratefulness that they have, and like, who are they talking to and say, hey, this is a great opportunity for families to be able to do something. One of the moms of the family that got a scholarship, she's told me she's been talking to the company that she works for about seeing if they can set up a way to be able to utilize our foundation as one of their benefactors of their grants and whatnot that they have. So she's in the process of talking to them about seeing what we can do to grow the foundation in terms of them helping us providing grants, even being like a what's it a primary charity for their company for people to give, because their all their employees, as part of their employment, give to a charity that they like. So we would be on that list of charities that they could donate to. So that's something that one of the families who's actually a benefactor of the scholarship, that mom wants to give forward for what we did for them.
And I think you hit another nail on the head, and that is the whole giver's gain from Dr. Meisner. There's something magical. It's not written anywhere. Some people would say, well, I don't experience that. I haven't experienced that. When you give and you give of yourself, it will come back tenfold.
Yep.
How is that possible? What's the name of the game? It's possible for the simple fact that at the level of integrity that you continue to build these structures at is the level to which they will be responded to, and someone will come and buy something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's like we said, we don't know how it's going to affect other people. It may inspire them to then start their own foundation, and which helps that much more people, or maybe inspires them to, anonymously donate something to somebody because they saw what it did for them, right? Or the person, in my case with the foundation that we started, it creates these, I don't know, for lack of a better term, karma, where all this is starting to come back to you. But it might not be immediate, right? You're not like, oh, I'm going to do this and hopefully I get something back from it. Well, if that's the reason that you're doing it, then you're not going to get out of it what you think you're going to, right? If you're looking at it from that standpoint, the monetary gain or some kind of gain from it, you're not. That's not giving. That's expecting. That's a big difference, right?
It's trade of service, yeah.
Yeah, we don't give these scholarships to needy students because we want them to give us back something, right? We want to give because we want them to have something of value that they right now can't afford. Maybe somewhere down the road, that's going to impact them enough that they want to help somebody else, or they come back to us and want to do something for us. But if you're looking at it from the standpoint of, if I give $5 and I get back 15, that's going to be awesome. Well, that's not how it works. Mm-hmm. So that thought process is going to actually make, I think that goes the other way. People are going to recognize that and say, they're going to recognize that you're not giving of yourself because, right, you're giving for yourself. And that's a big difference.
It is, and I think that's the crux of anything that's part of that giver's gain, and is to look and see what's the integrity with which you're giving.
Yep.
Sometimes people give and they don't have the space to give. So is that authentic?
Yeah, it's there's like, certain levels too, so say, we kind of had this discussion earlier where maybe somebody who has, unlimited funds, or they're wealthy or whatever, and they give $10,000, right? And they're worth maybe 100 million, but they only give $10,000. People who aren't in that situation will look at that and say, well, you have that much money, why don't you give more? And when you're thinking about it that way, it's like, well, okay, maybe $10,000 to them is $10 to you. Have you given $10 to this organization? Have you given anything of yourself? Or are you just pointing at somebody else who has the means and saying they're not giving enough, right? Are you in a situation where all you're doing is wondering how come everybody isn't giving as much as they can, and you're not even doing it in the first place, right? So you put yourself in that situation where you're pointing fingers at somebody else, but you're not actually doing it. So it's all about levels. There's people out there who don't have anything extra, but yet still contribute to something, right? Whether it be their time or their money or whatever it is. It's just about, why are you doing it? You're doing it because it's the right thing to do. It's because, selfishly makes you feel better, but it's not about getting something in return, right? It's about providing something to someone else because it's what you do. It's what makes you feel good, and it's the right thing. And if there's any other expectations other than that, then you're not doing it for the right reasons.
So here's the question then that I think is on the tip of everybody's mind, is how do we discern that?
Well, we come back to integrity, don't we? Right? I'm not going to say whether you did it for the right reasons or not, right? The appearance might be that you did it for the right reasons, but in reality, maybe you didn't, right? There's no way to know. Only you can know if you did it for the right reasons. I think there's some noticeable characteristics to whether it's for the right reasons or not, but that's not always a guarantee that it is, because it might seem from outward appearances that, well, he only does it because he gets something in return. When in reality, maybe he does it because at some point in his life, somebody did it for him. And now he's a multi-billionaire who wants to give back because somebody at some point in his life gave something to him. You know, we just don't know. And the only way you're going to know is if you experience it yourself.
Pay it forward.
Yep.
Love it. I love it. I love it. And, that whole thing of, they've got so much more money, brings back another topic that we talked about this morning was, Mr. John Yar, would you like $1 million? You won't have any problems if you have $1 million.
I won't have the problems I have now, but I have other problems.
And no matter where you are in the world, where you are in your life, whatever you're dealing with, you are going to have problems.
Yep. That's life. It's just what scale of problems do you have?
Yes. And do you have the integrity with which it takes? Do you have the integrity for what it takes to follow the guide rails, to follow the boundaries, even if you bump into them once in a while?
Yep.
To get the job done.
But that's what they're there for, right? That's why they have the boundaries. So you can find out how far you can go one way or the other.
Beautiful. So what could somebody do? Where can they go? I'm going to type it into a banner, and then I'll put it in the comments. How does one find out about the YMA Legacy Foundation?
Yep. We have a website. It's the YMALegacyFoundation.org. So it's just YMALegacyFoundation.org. And there's all kinds of options. The information is on there about what we do, who we service, ways to donate, all types of different stuff on there. There is on our actual website, yarsmartialarts.com, if you are interested in being a student at our school but aren't maybe sure you can afford the tuition, there's a scholarship application on there where you can apply for a scholarship. You have to be an active student within our school to be able to get the money, the scholarship. But there's opportunities for families and for individuals to be able to get what we call black belt scholarships for their training.
So you said YMALegacy.org,
no,
right?
YMALegacyFoundation.org. But on there, talks about who we are, what we do, our vision for what we're trying to do, how we became who we are, and then all kinds of options for donating, where you can go for more information, that kind of stuff.
All right. Boom.
There we go. We currently have, within our school, we have 3 families on full scholarships. Then we have 3 families down at another school on partial scholarships. And we just, like you said, we just got done with a push-up challenge to raise money. We last fall we did a board breaking challenge. So people raise money by doing breaking boards at our 10-year anniversary.
That was fun.
We obviously will take donations. We would love, volunteers to come if they had, anything that they're interested in helping out with. We'd love to see what we can do with that. People are interested in seeing how they can help more.
And I think you mentioned something this morning about if somebody helps, you can give them a slip. Yep.
Anybody who donates, or maybe in-kind donation where you provide services in return for a donation receipt that you can use for your tax purposes. So anything you donate, whether it be money or time, we can write a donation receipt for you that you can use to get some tax breaks. And there's, nothing is out of the question in terms of services that you might be able to provide. Whether you can or whether we need them or not is we can figure that out. But maybe you have some ideas of how you'd like to help. We're open. We love that stuff because that tells us that this is important to people.
And if you do have something, take a moment to go into the chats on Facebook, YouTube, and X, or go to our websites.
Yep.
There you go. You can see the whole thing now. Mine's leshill.info. Mr. Yarwood's is Yarwood's with an S. Martial Arts with an S. Todd Food.
Yep.
All right. The next thing for me is bragging about your position in life.
Titles.
And I know in your time you've had hundreds of them, right, Mr. Yarwood? Maybe thousands.
Yeah.
And what do you think is the number one reason
that people create titles or brag about their stuff? In my experience, I say the number one reason, I think people are looking for clout. Maybe they're maybe self-conscious, have some issues personally, and
I'm not good enough.
Having a title or being important is what makes them feel important. So they need to tell everybody how cool they are or who they are. You always think of like the celebrities who say, "Don't you know who I am?" That type of thing. It's more of a they're looking to get something from somebody based on a status versus being a good person.
Yep. Yeah, and what do you see changes as? So this is a good one, right? So let's say they come in as a white belt or maybe even as a yellow belt from another organization. What do you think is the biggest transformation that somebody's going to have?
Coming from a different organization, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, like I always look at it from the standpoint, it's like, I don't care where you trained before, what your school is about. If, hearing stories and whatnot, I'm not about all that stuff, right? What I'm about is, okay, where are you right now and how can we help you get to where you want to go? We're going to bring you into the fold you're gonna become part of our culture, our family, our community, and you're gonna figure out how we do things, and we're gonna help you get there. We're gonna figure out what your goals are and how we can get you to achieve those goals. What you did prior to you getting there, where your other training was, whether you liked them or didn't like them, they were jerks. They didn't know what they were doing. I don't care, right? I'm concerned about you in particular and how I can help you. What can we do for you in our school that's going to get you where you want to go? We're going to give you opportunities. We're going to do, whatever it is that you need. We're going to find out how to help you. I've heard plenty of stories from other schools and what they do or don't do, how they act or don't act. And to me, it doesn't really matter. I don't care, right? I know how we do things.
Yep.
And how we act and how we provide things for the community. And that's all it's about, right? I'm not going to look down on anybody else for doing it their way. Just like I hope they don't look down on me for doing it how I do it, right? We all have things that we like and don't like and do and don't do. And it really doesn't affect me.
And I think for those of you that like reading, there's a book out there, and I was hoping I could maybe find it quick. Come on.
What's it called?
Oh my goodness. Can't remember. I'm trying to. I can see the picture of the cover, but I can't see the name. Anyway, one of the things that I also want to say is too much charity. That's what it's called. It's called toxic charity. We have to be very responsible. I also have a nonprofit. And when the money comes in, we've got to be very responsible. So just like Mr. Yarwood has, we have a board of directors. And before we spend money, we check in with the board of directors.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that comes from, it's very easy when you start having money and money to flash around or money to use. It's very easy to veer off a course of integrity. So that's the one thing I want to make sure everybody looks at and thinks about. Like, does this have integrity?
Yep.
And what is the workability of this going to provide?
Yep. I mean, just like any business, a foundation, even though it's a nonprofit, still deals in income and expenses and what we spend our money on. It's actually probably more scrutinized just because the money is supposed to be going for what we say it's going for, right? And we have to make sure that all that money there's a trail. Why is it spent here? What did you spend it for? Is it spent for the things you're supposed to spend it on? Those types of things.
Yeah.
And it's just like any other business. You gotta account for all the stuff that you do. But with a nonprofit, I think it needs even higher level of an integrity because everybody's watching you.
Well, and part of that is the watching also is they want to come and steal it.
Yep. Look, money. Can I have some?
Yeah. So there we go. Oh, yep. YMA Legacy Foundation.org.
Yep. We take donations of all kinds, big and small.
Yeah. And the one thing, I know is, take all kinds of donations. The only thing we don't take is an IOU.
Yep.
So that's really great. Yeah, that's awesome. Let's see what else is there. There was one. Oh, I found 1984 was the book.
Oh.
I think that's George Orwell, right?
Yep.
So, and why I brought that up was we're all different. And I think when we can find our own purpose and find our own way to give and find our own thing, the one thing we want to remember is when all boats rise together, life becomes new and exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's everything on my notes. Anything else for you, sir?
No, I just think it's important to remember, why are you giving, whether it be your money or your time or your items. What's the reason for it? If it's for you and not for them, then you're not giving. If you're doing it because it's the right thing, it feels good, and it helps somebody else, well, then I think you're doing it the right way.
Yep. Hold on. I think this will.
Oh yeah.
I found my Post-it. Yeah. So why are you giving? What's the reason? Is it selfless or is it self-serving?
Yep.
And we want to be responsible for that. That's where coming from, I'm faith-based. Coming from that faith-based, what is the impact of what I do, what I give? Because like I said, and I found the book, the second one that I was talking about, so that you could see Toxic Charity.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so This is another thing for us, and it's by Robert D. Lupton. But this is another thing that you have to be careful of, right? You've got to be careful that what you're giving doesn't create the next issue.
Yep.
Right. I lived in North Minneapolis for a while, and I remember hearing from one of my neighbors, their daughter coming home and all excited. She was going to she says, 9 months, I'm getting a raise. And I happened to be there just standing talking to grandma, and grandma looks and goes, why in 9 months? And she said, I'm pregnant. We're going to get more money from the government. And I was flabbergasted.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to respond to that. So here's integrity, ladies and gentlemen. Does that have workability? Is it long term? Is it viable?
What is the impact?
Yep. 1, what is the impact? 2, what's your why? What's the reason? What is it you're out to solve?
Yep.
Right? If you think you're trying to help somebody, are you helping them, or are you helping them to get stuck or unstuck? So awesome. Mr. Yarwood, thank you.
Yes, sir.
And with that, I'm going to go ahead and throw up our little see you later.
Bye.